Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Love Restore. I am your host, Marshaun Olaniyan, and you are listening to KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes. Now, today we are talking about the third part of self-awareness and the things to avoid, right? The silent saboteurs of our self-awareness. Now, we already discussed two of the five. So the first one that we discussed was self-reflection, and the second one that we have already discussed is social comparison. So today, for these next 30 minutes, we are going to be talking about negative self-talk, what that is, why we need to avoid negative self-talk, how negative self-talk affects our self-awareness, and how to overcome self-talk or the negative self-talk itself. So before we jump into that, let's talk about Love Restored and why we are here. So I decided to start Love Restored because, just like many of you out there, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick and tired of not really knowing how to show up in a relationship, how to recruit, if you will, slash attract a mate, what all details or entails to create a loving, wonderful relationship. And the most important thing that I did not know, which many of you probably have dealt with the same thing, is not really understanding who I am slash was. I had no idea who I was when I was in the dating process, especially as a young type, just leaving my parents' home. I did not receive the talks, the tools, the strategies, the tips, the anything, the sit down talks to say, hey, Marshaun, this is how you need to show up. This is what you need to look for when you deciding to say I do to a mate. Before you say I do, this is what you should look for. These are the conversations that you need to have. This is how you need to be, or this is what you need to be in those aspects. And then allowing me to take said information and run with it on my own. I didn't get any of those. And so if I can help one, if I can help five, if I can help 10, if I can help 1,000 of you out there to either not continue with the relationship that you're in, or help you to establish and affirm yourself, where your self-esteem and your self-confidence rises to the level that it needs to be at. So before you jump into your next relationship, or before you again say I do, you know who you should show up as, why you are showing up the way that you are showing up, and the things that are stopping you from creating the love life that you truly want to be a part of, as well as have your children to witness that lifestyle. So again, that is why I created Love Restored. I want to give you the tips, tools, and strategies that I didn't receive, so you don't have to go down the same road that I went down. You don't have to experience some of the heartache and pain and trauma that I experienced myself. You can learn through my lessons instead of going through them yourself. So now, without further ado, let's talk about the third silent saboteur of self-awareness. This one, again, is negative self-talk. So let's talk about what negative self-talk is. So negative self-talk refers to the inner dialogue where you express your thoughts and beliefs that are critical, self-defeating, or harmful. They can manifest in various forms, such as self-doubt, pessimism, or hard self-criticism. Now, this kind of talk can significantly impact one's mental health, your self-esteem, and your overall well-being. Now, there are also some examples of negative self-talk, and some of them include catastrophizing. What does that mean? It is assuming the worst will happen. So, for example, you're thinking, I'll never be able to do this when you're faced with a challenge, or I'm just not good enough, right? Or my goodness, this thing is never going to happen. So kind of going down the road of assuming the worst, as it implies. Another thing is personalizing, right? Where you are blaming yourself for things that are out of your control. You can't control everything. None of us can control every aspect of our life. Life be lifing. And anytime you try to control every aspect of your life, you end up losing for sure. So personalizing is blaming yourself for the things that are out of your control, such as, it's my fault that the meeting went badly. even when there were other factors at play. Right? So that's the second thing. Another thing is filtering, which is focusing solely on the negative aspects of the situation while you're ignoring any and all of the positive things that came out of it. So, for example, dwelling on a mistake you made at work and ignoring the praise and or achievements that you received at the same place of work. But again, you are focusing solely on the negative aspects instead of realizing there is some negative, sure. But guess what? You also have some achievements, you also have some positivity. And I want you to focus more on the positivity versus the negative. So, filter. The fourth thing is the all or nothing thinking. And what is that? It is viewing situations in black and white terms. So there is no gray area, such as if I don't succeed perfectly, I'm a total failure. Not realizing that success, usually it's not 100% success. So say for instance, you say that you want to get married before you are 25 or before you're 30. And you do end up getting married, it's just later. So it's not 25 or 30, it's 35 or 40. Again, you reach the goal of marriage, but the time span that you put on it didn't work out. So you're looking at it as you were a failure in the years of 25 to 35, when in fact it should have been the time frame where you were consistently working on yourself so you can be better, show up better, do better, track better. However, you stay in a consistency of negative self-talk and I'm not worthy or my life sucks because I did not get married in the time frame. And so it's again this all or nothing mentality. So that is negative self-talk, as well as some examples of what negative self-talk is. So now let's talk about why we need to avoid negative self-talk. So one of the things that happens when we go down the rabbit hole of speaking to ourselves in this harsh manner is the impact on our mental health. And this is significant because society has really been honing in more on mental health, which is a beautiful thing. And just because they are honing in on it now doesn't mean that it just started to occur. Mental health has been around for as long as people have been around, quite frankly. And so now that we're recognizing what's actually happening and we are tapping into it, it's a better situation and it's more acceptable for society or for me to say, you know what? I need some help. I need to go talk to a therapist, or I need to get some outside help and work with a coach or a counselor or somebody that can help me see and view life through a different lens versus me just coming in here and believing that everything is wrong. And some of that may occur with, or I should say in conjunction with, taking some pills in order to stabilize ourselves. And so mental health is definitely coming along. It is coming along. It has come a long way. The stigma of something being wrong or having to go lie on somebody's couch and people being in your business. It's not to say that it's completely gone, but it's definitely dissipating where more and more people are reaching out and getting the help that they need in order to see that their life is not as different as they believe that it is. They are not alone in the feelings that they're having. And the person that they're working with, the coach, the counselor, the therapist, the doctor, the physician, whomever it is, can help them to see these pills will help to stabilize, even if they're placebo. Right. And so it is that belief that you can do better. So that's one of the why we need to avoid the negative self-talk is your mental health. You will improve your mental health by staying away from the negativity that pops up, and especially when it pops up so often. And it's not to say that negative self-talk is going to ever go away. I don't believe that it's ever going to go away, but you will, number one, be able to recognize it sooner, and number two, be able to stop going down that rabbit hole so you can focus on different things, and again focus more on the positive versus the things that you don't have, wish you had, don't have them, etc. So another reason why we need to avoid the negative self-talk is the influence on our self-esteem and self-confidence. So this is a shameless plug right here. This is exactly what I talk about in my 3S challenge. So in my 3S challenge, we literally hone in on why your self-esteem and why your self-confidence has tanked, and the strategies in order to get to the next level, to start increasing your self-confidence, to start increasing your self-esteem, and as well as the speaking softer to yourself, which is, instead of talking negatively to yourself, you want to speak softer and kinder, and just like you would speak to one of your friends that you actually like, not your frenemy. The friend that you really like, you really want to see this person succeed. When you're speaking life and love and softness into her and kindness, I want you to think of yourself as your own friend, so you can speak that same life and love into yourself. So if that sounds like something that you need to start working on, then there is a link. Click the link to sign up for my next 3S challenge. I will reach out to you personally to invite you, right, to see if it's a great fit. We will have a conversation. You say yes or no. We decide to move forward. And then you can also get the tips, tools, and strategies that you need in order to start working on your self-esteem as well. So avoiding the negative self-talk, it plays a major role on your confidence and self-esteem, the way that you view yourself, how you show up, again, your mental health. The third reason why you need to avoid the negative self-talk is because of the effects on your relationships and your social interactions. Anytime you start viewing yourself because you've talked to yourself negatively over and over and over again, the things that we hear over and over and over again, we start to believe them, whether they're true or false. It doesn't matter. The exposure to you hearing yourself say, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not successful because of X, Y, and Z. The more that you play this broken record over and over again, the more that it plays a part in you believing that about yourself. Again, externally, your friends may be saying something completely different. They think that you are the bomb.com, and your internal dialogue does not meet or match up to what your friends and family believe about you. So it can absolutely have you start, or I should say stop, going to the cookouts. It can have you stop going to the family holidays or gatherings. It can have you start lashing out at people, or talking bad about others because you don't feel good about yourself. So it really is a trickle effect. It has an effect on your romantic relationship as well as your relationship with your children, or anybody specifically that lives in the house with you that can see you on a day-to-day of how you show up. Then absolutely these things do matter. These things do matter. So staying away from that negative self-talk can help you to raise your level again of self-esteem as well as self-confidence, and the way that you view yourself in your relationships as well as how you're showing up in your relationships. And then the fourth reason why we need to avoid the negative self-talk is because of the long-term consequences. Again, once we get on that, once we start going down the spiral and that belief of the things that we are not, we have a tendency to stay down there, and it's harder to climb back out. Not impossible, but harder. And if you have a circle of friends and family around you that is not speaking life and love into you, then it's going to be that much harder to come out of that rabbit hole that you find yourself in. The long-term consequences is that you can miss many blessings by you staying stuck, by you staying in your inner dialogue, instead of allowing your inner dialogue to change or to up level. It doesn't mean that, again, it does not mean that this negative self-talk is going to go away for good. It's going to be there. It's going to surface. It's going to pop. It's going to rear its ugly head. It's just a matter of how long you decide to stay stuck in that frame of mind? What is it going to take for you to start speaking kinder to yourself? What is it going to take for you to believe differently about you? Because, as I like to tell my clients, you are your problem, but you're also your solution. And I want to share that with you here today. You are your problem, my sister, but you're also your solution. So, what are you going to do in the next week, the next month, the next 60 days, the next 90 days to make sure that your life is completely different? I would venture to say sign up for that 3S challenge where we're going to help you to jumpstart. It's a jump starter. That way you can start being on the road, because when you work with me, you're absolutely going to see results if you do the work. If you take the actions that we talk about, the strategies that we're going to go through together, if you start to actually implement the things that we discuss, your life has no business being the same after those 30, those 60, those 90 days. And I've had so many clients that's gone through this 3S challenge with me to say, this has been life-changing. I must tell my friend about this because I am different. Just in these few weeks of working with you, I am a different person. My level of self-awareness about me, not about nobody else, about you, about her, has risen. The anxiety has really, again, not 100% gone away. Because just like that negative self-talk, the anxiety will rear its ugly head. But that 3S challenge will help you to alleviate 99, 97% of the negative self-talk so you can get to the next level in your life, so you can truly start living the life that you truly want to be a part of, that you're very proud of. So if you have yet to click the link for the 3S challenge, then do so I can reach out to you so we can see if the next time around is the best time for you to start. But I know, again, by just leaning in to what you want, saying yes to you, showing up, doing the work, being very intentional about this next season of your life, you'll look back at your life in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, and say, why didn't I start this sooner? How come it took so long for me to invest in me? Why was I always pouring into everybody else and not pouring into myself? Why was I the strong friend? I had nobody to talk to. I don't have to always be the strong friend. I need somebody to lean on myself. The 3S challenge is that for you. It is your support system. As you are the strong friend, you have nobody to talk to, nobody to lean on. The 3S challenge is there for you just for that. And the S in the 3S is self-esteem, self-confidence, and speaking softer. Exactly what we are talking about here today. Again, to decrease the level of negativity in your mind about you, but also around you. Because as you start to clean up this junk up here in your mind, your level of awareness rises. And because of that, the people around you, the things around you, the circles that you find yourself in, the things that you're watching, the things that you're reading, the things that you're listening to will start to change, because they're not feeding life, love, and positivity in you. They are doing quite the opposite. And that is not something that any of us need nor want. How does the negative self-talk affect our self-awareness? Well, one of the things is that it distorts your self-perception. The perception that you have of you, it distorts that. Another thing is that it reduces your self-efficacy, starts to go down. Another thing that it does is that it impairs your decision making. Now, this is one of the things that has always baffled me, because I know that there are some people out there, and I've run across a few clients with this as well. I mean, and sometimes friendships as well, where it seems like they can't make the decision for themselves unless they speak to someone else. Not necessarily a bad thing, but, and If it's something that you must do every single time before you make a decision, then that is a crippling characteristic of yourself. And that is something that you need to change, because God gave each of us a mind of our own. And so you need to make some decisions for yourself. So this negative self-talk affects your awareness, because you can't just make a decision alone. You have to lean in, or make phone a friend, or text somebody, or everybody that you come across. You have to tell them the scenario, and then, what do you think? But that's not the real question. The real question is, what do you think? What should you do? What is the best thing that you should be doing? How is this thing? How is this thing going to be the best outcome for you? Because even when I'm coaching my clients, I don't give them the answers. Now, there are some times where I may suggest, but the best results come from when you come up with your own answers, because it's something that you know that you can do, or you know if it's a challenge for you, and you know if you can reach your challenge. Because I'm not trying to get you to lose, I want you to win. But there is a formula to winning. There's a formula to winning. So in order to win, you have to know the formula, number one, and then you have to start to implement or take action on the pieces of the formula in order to become successful in whatever it is that you're trying to do. In this case, to decrease that negative self-talk. And then the final thing that the self-talk and how it affects our self-awareness is, it starts to limit our beliefs and our behaviors. This is something that is not good, because anytime you have somebody, and I'm saying somebody, but it's this critical inner voice, this inner dialogue, that, by the way, did not begin with you. It's outside forces, usually from a parent or guardian, or ex, or it even could be a sibling, just somebody that was in your life that was feeding all of this negativity to yourself, to you. And after some point, each time you heard that negativity, is a chip off of your brick wall, and then a chip off of your brick wall. And every time you hear it, now it's not just chips coming off. Now it's the actual bricks being broken. And so every time that negativity comes in, you internalized it, held on to it, and started to believe it about yourself. And so now that you're an adult, you believe the things that you're saying about yourself came from you. It didn't. It started from somebody programming you. You're hearing it over and over and over and over and over again, right? And God says that believing comes from hearing over and over and over and over again. And so in your case, you believe the crap that they were programming you with. And like I said, now you believe that it's yours. It's your voice. It's not your voice. It started with somebody else. Nobody comes up to themselves and say, you're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid. That usually is outside force. You may say it to yourself now when nobody else is around, but that stuff didn't start with you. It's even in the programs that we watch, the television shows, the movies, the pageant shows, the everything, the commercials. We are getting programmed day in and day out, which is why you have to guard your ears. You have to guard your eyes. You have to guard your heart until you're able to open up those things that are feeding life and love and respect and honor into your life. But so many of us, our self-awareness is pretty much off of the map, that we believe just because it's on TV, it's true. Just because it's on YouTube, it's true. Just because some Joe Schmo is out there reporting on it, that it's actually true. And it doesn't, in this day and age, it doesn't have to be true. We start to believe it when we hear it the first time from one outlet. And then it just gets bigger and bigger. I'm going down a rabbit hole. All I'm saying is the negative self-talk limits your beliefs. And instead of you showing up and having great behavior, or not allowing things to affect you so much where you feel like you're going down a rabbit hole, now you're just going down a rabbit hole and you're showing up ugly on the outside. And the world is taking in your ugly. So now briefly, because I know we're getting ready to wrap up this segment of negative self-talk, I want to briefly talk to you about some of the things that you can actually do to overcome your self-talk. So one of the things that you can actually do is to recognize and acknowledge those negative thoughts. Recognize them as a negative thought, and then, right? And one of the ways to recognize and acknowledge them is through journaling. Another way to recognize them is mindfulness meditation. And so, really, it's you being mindful, getting quiet so you can hear, asking yourself a question, asking God a question, waiting for an answer. But essentially, you are calming yourself so you can think clearly. And when we have clarity, that is when and where your power comes out. Because now you don't have to worry about what anybody else says about you, because you know about you. They don't have to know about you, but you know about you. And as long as you know about you, is all great. So that's one of the things, recognizing and acknowledging those negative thoughts by journaling and or mindfulness and meditation. The second thing is to challenge and reframe your negative thoughts. Now, this could be by CBT, which is cognitive behavioral techniques, or you could simply, if you're into positive affirmations and they work for you, positively affirm who you are. So challenge and reframe those negative thoughts. Another thing that you can do is you can build self-compassion for yourself. So self-care, it is not selfish, it is selfless for you. This is where you go into you, where you can recharge and come out afresh and anew so you can show up to the world and be there for all of the people that you want to be there for. But you first must be there for you, because the more that you give, now you are drained, you're sucked dry, and you become irritated when people ask you to do even more. But because you're probably struggling with boundary setting as well, you have a tendency to always say yes, 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 instead of no. And no is a complete sentence. Here's the thing with no. You don't have to explain yourself. Explaining yourself is a privilege, honestly, for the other person. It's not a necessity. It's a nicety, but it's not a necessity. The people that I find myself explaining myself to is because I honor our relationship. And it's not necessarily or always a romantic relationship. These are friendships that I value. So I want to give them an explanation. But I do understand it is not mandatory. It's not a need that they need, right? It's not a necessity. It's something that I want to give them so they can have a better understanding of me and where I'm at. But everybody doesn't need to get that. And that's where we fall short. So being able to say no. Self-care practices. Another thing about building self-compassion is your support systems and therapy. Now, your support system, I have a girlfriend who likes to say, I have to pay for my friends, because she believes in therapy. She believes in coaching. She believes in meditation and sound baths and just what is it with the needles? I can't even think. I know you know what I'm talking about. I can't even think of what it is. Oh my goodness. I'm having a brain fart. But getting what she needs for her so she can recenter and recharge. She loves to go swimming. So she makes sure that it's not necessarily a daily practice, but it is several times a week for her to keep her mental together, for her to love on and embrace where she's at in her life, as well as not feel bad about it. And then the final piece of the puzzle about actions in order to overcome the negative self-talk is establishing healthy habits. So this could be, maybe you need to get up and exercise more. Maybe you need to drink more water. Maybe you need to read your Bible more. Maybe you need to go to church more. Maybe you need to, get more sleep. Maybe it's the nutrition that you're lacking on. Maybe it's connecting with good friendships and allowing those negative or haters to go by the wayside. Whatever it is that you need to do in order to temper and or decrease that negative self-talk that you have within yourself, because the more people that you hang around where they're more positive, it just rubs off on you. Again, my name is Marshaun Olaniyan. This is Love Restore, and you're listening to KCCR Brownstone. Thank you so much for being here for these past 30 minutes. Again, shameless plug, if you have yet to click the link to sign up for the 3S challenge, then I highly highly encourage that you do. However, I forgot to mention earlier that this specifically is for Black women only. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And I will see you next week where we discuss silent saboteur number 4 of self-awareness, which is the disconnection of our emotions. I love you guys.